Hello everyone and welcome into School Talk, here with a socially distanced production today from the WJHI studios. I am Clay Ables, welcoming you in here. Alongside with me today is School Resource Officer and Police Officer, Mr. Brian Mithcell. How are we doing today, sir?
Doing good.
So tell me, I know you've been around here in the Jeff High community for a long time. Let's start off with that. How long have you been in the Jeffersonville area and how long have you been at Jeff High?
I've been in the Jeffersonville area basically my entire life. I graduated from here. I've been here at the high school probably about 2-3 years now.
And for you, I know there's a difference when we talk to people about school resource officer and police officer. You're both, so you have both sides of it, but tell us, what's the difference between school resource officer and police officer and kind of how those responsibilities split up?
Well, as just a normal police officer, which all the officers in the schools are police officers. We go through all the training and we're certified through the state. And during the summer months, we work on the street as regular patrol officers. The difference between a police officer and then working in the school is a resource officer will get an additional 40 hours of a basic school resource officer class that we attend and we're required to attend to work in the schools. And a lot of that has to do with just basically the laws. Their laws are a little bit different in the school than there are on the street. And it talks about building relationships in the school, working with school administrators. So that's the difference between basically just being a regular patrol officer and a resource officer. I've had the 40-hour class along with an additional 24 hours of the advanced school resource officer school.
For you, when you look at your daily assignment, I know you talk about if you're, and as you are as a police officer, you get in your car and you go around, you check things every day. As a school resource officer, when you show up to Jeff High, tell us a little bit about your day and what's different about when you go through a school. What's kind of on your list of assignments, whether it's checking in on people or talking to administrators? What do you do on a daily basis here with Jeffersonville?
Well, usually on a daily basis, what I do is I try to be out visible as much as possible in the hallways. And I try to, I walk the halls during class. I check doors, exterior doors, to make sure everything is locked up and secure. I check classroom doors and make sure all the doors are shut there. Just checking that's the big safety issues there. I usually check in with the school administrators. We usually meet almost on a daily basis and discuss issues going on at the school. And I kind of let them know if there's anything going on outside the school that may possibly come into the school. So that's kind of what I do on a daily basis. It makes it a little bit easier versus a patrolman, because a patrolman, you just don't have the time to take that time to go out and meet with people as you do here every day. I'm coming to the same school every day, and I'm able to talk to the same people, and I just build relationships with them.
And I wanted to touch more on that. You talk about building relationships. How much do you define your job as, besides having relationships with administrators and teachers, but having relationships with maybe troubled kids that having trouble fitting in or have had issues in the past? How much of that falls under your responsibility of trying to keep a good line of communication with them and making sure everybody's on the same page?
That's huge. I mean, that's one of the main things that a school resource officer does. I mean, people always say that it's terrible that you have police in schools, but it's not really. It's actually a good thing, because we mentor kids. We counsel kids, we instruct kids, teach kids. It just, we can, you kind of get to know the kids that you see every day, and you get to build a rapport with them, and you just talk to them and show them a little bit of respect, and they give that back to you, and just building the relationships is huge in the schools. You can tell if a kid's having a bad day. You get to his routine, and maybe pull him aside and talk to him. And I get kids all the time that want to come and talk to me, and they may have issues at home. They want to discuss that, or they just need somebody to talk to, or somebody to give them advice on what to do in a situation. And I just try to, I'm just trying to be there for them for that.
For you, how much of this year has been a challenge with having COVID? I know especially at the start of the year was really restricted, you know, trying to keep people separated. How, during that whole process, and even now that we're still dealing with COVID to some extent, how do you deal with trying to stay in contact with people, but then you have to worry about, you know, you don't want to be around too many people as the resource officer. They want you to, you know, be healthy and be here every day.
Yes.
How has that changed your job up a little bit?
It's changed a little bit. It's still the same job. You don't have the we've gone to the block schedules, so there's not a lot of movement in the hallways as normal, like pre-COVID. So they're only getting 4 classes a day. So there's not a whole lot of movement, and that's where I build, you know, you kind of interact with the kids and build relationships during the passing periods and stuff. So there's not a lot of passing periods. So it just kind of restricts the opportunity to meet kids and talk with them. And a lot of them now are doing virtual. So some of these kids I don't even see on a daily basis. We've had some come and then some leave. And we get a lot of freshmen that I haven't seen because they've started virtual and they've continued that. So that's the only disadvantage, I guess, to this. But as far as normal procedures, nothing's really changed there.
Here with another edition of School Talk here on WJHI Studios, socially distanced with Officer Brian Mithcell. And I wanted to go back to where we talked about the top. You've been in law enforcement for a long time, over 20 years.
Yes.
This is your 3rd year here at Jeffersonville. For you, what leads to that passion to wanting to be in law enforcement and helping people? Because I see a lot of people today kind of skew away from, you know, people talk about law enforcement, but the dangers of it, you know, the seriousness of it. You've been in it a long time. I know we talked before the show, you could have retired by this point, but you still have that passion. You want to be involved with it every day. Where does that come from? Yeah.
Well, a lot of it is just how I was raised. You know, I was just brought up, you know, to help people and really, as far as law enforcement, I didn't even know I wanted to be a policeman until I got out of the military. I wasn't one of those kids that grew up always wanting to be a police officer. It just kind of worked out that way, and the job opened up. I got working into corrections, and then from there it led into being a street officer. And once I got just a little bit of sample of that, it just kind of grows on you, and you just see the satisfaction of being able to help people, and you know, it just gives you that drive to keep coming to work every day. And once I got into schools here, it's amazing. You know, I love this job, you know, that I'm doing here in the schools. It's just, you know, be able to help these kids every day and kind of help them see the different side of being a policeman. You know, a lot of people, they're stereotyping police, and I think when they come in here and I get to talk to these kids and they see that, hey, I'm just a normal person and I'll talk to you and we can joke and cut up, and they feel comfortable around me. I think that helps them, you know, just see how police really are. There's a lot of good policemen out there.
And I know you've made a big impact because, like I said, there's a ton of kids that hang around you every day and talk to you every day. For you, and we have some students in that area as well that want to look at going into the military or going into being a police officer or working somewhere in that area, what would you advise students in terms of that area of how to pursue that career? I know some kids do criminal justice as a major, others go straight to military. What would you advise in that area as somebody that's had a lot of experience to say, hey, here's how you want to get started to go down this path?
Well, I mean, criminal justice at Prosser, that's a great opportunity. You got criminal justice classes in college you can go to. How I got started in law enforcement was just working in corrections. That's kind of how I got my foot in the door, and that's always a good start because they seem to always be hiring. But yeah, just military is a good way to go. Just different, you know, different paths you can go. But that military would be strong. That's where I went. I went to military. I was in corrections, and that helps out.
To go back to Jeffersonville, and we talked about not only your passion for law enforcement, really your passion for Jeff High, being an alum, now being here involved in the school. I think one of the fun parts about your job that you get to enjoy is you always seem to have the best seat in the house. Whether it's a basketball game, football, you name it, you're always right next to the coach, watching security, making sure nobody
Yeah.
gets in the way of the players, of the staff.
Yeah.
Tell me some of your favorite moments thus far, because you've been here for some big games where you've had a front row seat.
Yeah, I was looking back at some of the games, and just over the past 3 years that I've been here, there's been some unbelievable games. And I guess the first ones that come to mind, obviously, are the 2 sectional championships in the last 3 years for basketball, and then the sectional championship this past year for football. That was huge, especially leading up to that. Another big game was the Floyd Central game the week prior to that, where we, had a rough time during the regular season against them, and but they came out and played hard, and that was an unbelievable game. That was fun to be part of that game. But basketball, there's been many moments in basketball. You got the Castle game this year was incredible. I still don't know how we won that game, but and then you got the Floyd Central game, the triple overtime and the sectional. Just that's the ones that come to mind.
Well, let me ask you one, because there's been a couple crazy Floyd Central New Albany games just in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The one that jumps out to me, besides Jacob Jones' game winner last year at Floyd Central,
Right.
was you go back the year before, I believe it was Darren Starks.
Starks.
I remember as soon as that game was over, because we're filming it and doing it on radio, how do you control a crowd like that? Because the students are just flooding out. You've got players going everywhere. I know you're trained in about every area. But what can you do in a situation like that?
It's hard to train them for that. Yeah, you can't stop
You got
that.
500 people running at you at once.
Yeah, I was in position just in case he hit the shot to try to run out there, but I honestly couldn't get out there fast enough, and he ran towards the other end of the floor, so
Yeah, that didn't help you.
Didn't help me at all. So, but yeah, that was fun. And then the Jacob Jones shot last year was unbelievable. It's like 2 years in a row. I couldn't believe it.
I know. Say for you, I guess first priority in that situation is try to get the players away from
Yeah,
that and the coach.
Yeah, it's basically trying to protect the players and the coach and stuff, and get them back to the bench safely.
Hey, everything worked out.
It did.
Everything
It
worked.
did.
As crazy as it gets in some of those games,
Yeah.
I know it's amazing to look back at some of those moments. And the one I really wanted to touch on with you harped on it a second ago, was Jeffersonville. The football win versus Floyd Central was huge last year, and then the sectional championship over New Albany. The reason why I wanted to touch with you on that is I know you're very close with Coach Parker. He's somebody as well that works in law enforcement. You all have been together a long time.
Right.
I know you had some really great embraces after those games. What did it mean for you to see not only Jeff football win, but to see him come in and change the program?
Oh, it was amazing. It's great to have somebody like Isaac come in and as passionate as he is about as the football program, and I know he wants to get this thing turned around, and to see him, only in his second year finally won a sectional championship that we haven't done in 13 years. There's just so much relief that he got that done, and I was happy for him.
I was going to say, you lived some of those games as well.
Yeah.
Because you're around. Obviously with being around us as well, traveling, but you're by those coaches all the time. You see a lot of the stress and feel it.
Yeah, it was a lot of stress, and like I said, that whole year last year was rough, and we finally got on a roll at the end, and it was just nice to see kids play hard, and it was just good to see the kids and be able to enjoy that moment.
Well, last couple of things I want to ask you here before we wrap up. For you, I know, and kind of like anybody, you're always trying to look at the next thing and what's coming down the road. For you, what's, in your opinion, or expertise, I should say, on the horizon in terms of safety procedures and maybe how things change post-COVID, and also just technology coming up for security? What are some of those things that you look at down the road that, hey, I'm always trying to keep an eye on this to make sure the school's at the greatest safety level they can be at?
Well, the biggest thing for us for safety is the upgrading our video surveillance. We've added quite a few cameras here at Jeffersonville. We've extended some of the cameras out further on the edge of the campus. We're now installing some new lighting in the parking lot area where they're all set to on a motion. So when somebody comes through the parking lot after the lights are out, the lights will come on. So that kind of alert us that something's going on. So we constantly monitor the cameras, and You know, check doors, make sure all the doors are working properly. But that's the biggest thing is just cameras, and then the communication, the radio communications.
And how much does, because I know people talk about, they see cameras everywhere and they see, you know, obviously you have the video, but
Right.
how much of a benefit is that for you as a police officer and school resource to have all that extra equipment?
Oh, it's huge. You know, to be able to catch, because I mean, we have well over 100 and probably 110, 115 cameras throughout the whole campus. So
Wow.
we can catch just about everything. I mean, the only thing we can't catch is anything that occurs in the bathrooms or the classrooms. But other than that, I mean, literally the entire school is just about covered with cameras. So that's huge for us. So we can go back, and usually we go back on a daily basis and kind of check the cameras from overnight to see if anything occurred. And you know, if we have any incidents that occur at school, we usually catch those on camera.
Last question I'll ask for you here. I know you've been a longtime member of Jeff High, now a school resource officer. I know you certainly have a part of all of Greater Clark, dealing with different school resource officers and safety. What are some of your long-term goals here at Jeffersonville and also throughout the school corporation you hope to accomplish? Because I know you're not retiring anytime soon. You told me that before the show. So what are some of your long-term goals here?
Long-term, I would like to be able to, you know, get in the classrooms more. Not really be a teacher. I don't want to take anything from teaching them, but just being in there and be able to talk to the kids and kind of help them out with any questions they have, any law questions, you know, any questions of concern that they have. But that's the biggest thing, is just being able to get in the classrooms. You know, like I said, I try to stay as mobile as possible, and I think that's the biggest thing, even security-wise. That's the biggest thing, is just to be visible. And I try to do that, and I try to be visible. But I want to be in the classroom, and I want to, you know, just be able to talk to the kids in the class and help them out.
Well, Officer Mitchell, we appreciate you coming in. I know you've been a long-time Jeff supporter, and it's fantastic to have you here in the school every day, and enjoy working with you, and hope to have you back on.
All right, thank you for having me.
That's School Resource Officer Brian Mitchell and Police Officer here with us in the WJHI studios, saying so long with this socially distanced production of School Talk. You can watch School Talk or check out the replay on the WJHI Red Devil Network. That's on cable 184, along with radio at 98.5 FM and WJHI.com to play back on stream. And will also be uploaded online on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just check that out at the WJHI social media pages. For Officer Mitchell, I'm Clay Abel saying so long here for School Talk. This is 98.5 WJHI, home of the Red Devil Network.